Well, hey Ashley, happy Friday. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Corey?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to our conversation here about how can meeting planners get a jump on the new year?
Oh, there's just having a
So,
checklist is great. Going into any new year, right? So,
yeah, no, absolutely. And I got three here that I wanted to ask you that seem to be bubbling to the top. One of which we're talking about timing. Obviously, things have really changed since the good old days several years ago. But in terms of planning, how is timing impacting the planning process right now?
well, depending on how large of a meeting or how many people are involved, if there's travel involved, all of these things can take a spot with figuring out a timeline. So it could be 6 months prior. If you have international people that you're flying in, it could be I just did an event that I had less than 5 business days to figure out a timeline.
Wow.
So I the sweet spot would be 6 months to 90 days, and just to map everything out from when you're going to get your meal selection in, your rooming list, solidifying everything, and then a lot of times no matter where you're having your meeting, you have a contract that you're going against. So then it's always good to look at those deadlines too, to make sure that if you want to avoid attrition, that kind of thing. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's good to just map everything out and then make a conscious effort to make sure that you are getting your stuff in on time to the person you're working with.
Wonderful. How or has the impact of supply chains, say an event, they have something special or they need a thing constructed or created. Have you seen any issues on getting special things like that because of what's happened?
Luckily, I have not,
Hmm.
but I've heard a lot.
Ah,
But because a lot of the stuff we already have in house, or people meaning clients are conscious of that issue. So they will order it ahead of time, have it shipped to them and bring it with them. Or they I've had people forego it because they figured out that it just wasn't going to get there in time.
ah,
But luckily with us, with ordering things to execute team buildings and that kind of stuff, we have mostly everything we need on property. So we haven't encountered any of that.
gotcha. Great, great. Um, as we talked about, I mentioned to you before we jumped on here, planning a meeting, how stressful it can be. And oh my gosh, I can't imagine, especially for somebody that doesn't have a ton of experience planning an event, as well as all the other stuff that's going on in our lives right now. Mental wellness being at one of the top elements. How is mental wellness being worked into some of the events and things that you see?
So we have had some groups recently within the last 6 months that are very intentional about doing meditation,
Hmm.
doing yoga, um, doing. We had there was one group that did collage boards and just a lot of reflection time. They even let them walk the property to kind of get with themselves before the next session and recalibrate. It just seems to be still this re-energizing cycle that which is great to see, that employers are recognizing that their employees need, they want to give them information, get them in a meeting, but they're also very aware of the fact that there's been a lot of stuff that's happened the last couple of years and people are still recalibrating to, the new way, I guess you could say.
Yeah, very good point. I growing up, I realized how much, so much of what we do is so contingent on our mental state, right? If we're not performing at peak performance, it's affecting
Absolutely.
everything, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've seen that with planners that I've worked with that, whether some are seasoned, some are not, but my prime objective is to make them look really good and have a successful meeting. And there are many people that give feedback to say, you made me feel like I was taken care of. And I wasn't the one having to run around and do X, Y, and Z. You were there before I even thought of doing it. And it's great to hear that, because they are also part of the group and they should be taken care of like the rest of them. So
absolutely. Yeah. Like I mentioned before, I planning my little parties in throughout my last college days and whatnot, it is stressful. Just getting a gathering, having people come together, so many variables that can go wrong. Throwing somebody into a situation and the boss saying, well, now this responsibility is on you. I need you to handle this. And I can't imagine the type of weight that would be on somebody's shoulders.
absolutely. I mean, especially when, like we had talked about, a lot of the people that I'd say maybe 50% of the planners that I work with aren't planners.
Right.
Through the pandemic, companies downsized or pushed 8 positions into one, or they're wearing all these different hats, and so it's just a learning opportunity for them. And sometimes I like that, because they're more welcome to my guidance, but it's also, I would never turn down working with somebody who's seasoned and just knows everything like the back of their hand, and knows how it should go. So
methodology in place. So I'm sure
right.
A little mixture of both. That way you can kind of explore or dig into your creativity and especially open to new ideas. And that's the beautiful thing about Wingspread. It's such a unique place. It opens up. It's almost like a painter's canvas that's completely open, and it's almost like your creativity is the only thing that limits what could take place there. It's really, truly an amazing place.
Absolutely. I agree.
What else also is amazing, in fact, I just did it myself last night, is I went to HSMAI networking event downtown San Diego. Networking is all the rage.
It is.
How are you seeing networking being woven back into some of the events that you're hosting?
The wonderful thing is that at Wingspread, we have always incorporated it into the evening hospitality, which happens after dinner. And it's just a really great space, whether they have a bar or they're using the fire pit, and they are able to connect with each other, not in front of a meeting table. And they can talk about everything feeds into their purpose and outcomes. So whether they're talking about their family, they're talking about budgets, which you hope that they pull away from that a little bit, but it just gives them time to connect on a different level. And so we encourage it. But there's definitely usually the first night of other groups that come in, they like to purposefully not do a tour of Wingspread, because they want people to network and connect.
Oh, okay.
Especially with groups that we hosted, a couple groups this year that they're fully remote companies. But these people had never met each other in person.
Seeing a lot of that right now.
Yeah. And so very impactful to have them network and to, see each other and connect, not from a screen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. Hey, that really enjoyed our conversation as usual. Thank you spending a few minutes with us on a Friday. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too, Corey.
Okay, take care, Ashley.